Hi, I'm Brian and welcome along. I'd like to begin this video by offering an apology to myself and an apology to anybody out there who thinks that I know anything about music at all, because I have discovered a weak spot, a black hole in my knowledge of music and understanding, and I couldn't believe I haven't discovered it up till this point. And that is that I've gone through all of my life professing and proclaiming and actually loving music from the late 70s, early 80s of the new wave and post-punk era without having any real appreciation of the Jam. My God, how does this happen? I think I just thought that they were like a scrawny little punk band, and then I realized I knew three songs of singles. Start, which was a Beatles ripoff. I'll get to that later. I don't really mean that. Town Called Malice, which had that annoying keyboard in it, etc. And That's Entertainment, which just started going and never stopped. And I don't think I ever really got into it. I have different opinions on a lot of those songs later on. Anyway, so what was happening the other day, let me paint the picture, is I decided that I was going to go and visit one of my local record shops. And when I mean local, it's an hour and a half away on a train. But I thought, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to rip out GarageBand, I'm going to record some music, get up there, have some vinyl therapy, look through, pick up a couple of records, and then hightail it back home. Now, there's a blessing and a curse with Source Records at Janelli. I absolutely adore the shop, but they have their entire stock list online, so you can plan what you're going to buy before you get there. And I had planned to buy a Chris Christopherson album just because if a vinyl tag ever comes up where I need to be able to show a country record, then I've got one. And one maybe where it stops. But the other thing that is interesting about Source Records is that, so there are no surprises, except that they have the new arrivals, which have been unpriced on the ground as you go in, and they're probably about 100 or so records. And I walked in and immediately went to these new arrivals, the unsorted ones, and I was flicking through and I found this, the Jam Snap. This is an original New Zealand pressing from 1983, I believe. And I also believe that a partner in a relationship I was once in had the album on cassette, so I probably listened to it back in the day. Now, I'm not going to tell you about the Jam because I'm sure you know everything there is to know already. Ironically, I really like Paul Weller's solo stuff. Not a huge fan of Style Council. I've tried, but not for me, although I did enjoy their performances at Live Aid. And as I said, those three singles of the Jam, I never went back and listened to them. So where was I up to? Anyway, so in the band, we have Paul Weller on guitar and vocals. We have Rick Bucket on drums, and we have Bruce Foxton on bass. And they were such an influential, amazing band that when they broke up, they re-released all 16 singles, and every one of them went into the top 100 in the UK. I mean, that is phenomenal. And this compilation here includes all of those 16 singles. It's really pretty cool, plus B-sides and a couple of other things as well. And as we go inside, you got this long essay, which is in fact an excerpt from the authorized biography of the band, which is kind of cool. It's kind of cool. And if I can bring this out, it is on the old Polydor label there. Oh, can't do it. There we go. Polydor label. So what's this all about? Am I posing now as some sort of an expert, a born-again expert on the Jam? Not at all. What I'm going to do is spend the next few minutes just talking about the songs that are on this album and my reaction to them. Not my review or my critique, but my reaction to them. Because it's a breath of fresh air, and I'll talk about how I've sort of evaluated it and what my next steps are after going through all of the songs. So if you want to join me for the ride, stick around and let's get to it. Now, I'm also going to ask your forgiveness that I'm going to be looking at my notes quite a bit, and I haven't gone into the lyrical content that much at this point. As I said, this is a reaction as opposed to a review, and so that's what we're going to get. So I'm going to go pretty rapid fire. Let's begin with In the City, off the album In the City. I'm really getting Joe Jackson vibes here from those first two albums, those brilliant albums by Joe Jackson, but this was released before Joe Jackson. It's got great attitude and melody, and that's one of the things that jumped out at me on listening to the Jam. Yes, there's that punky that punkish sort of attitude, but there's great melody. I love the bashing of the floor tom throughout this, and this band is as tight as a duck's quacker. These lyrics about police brutality, I believe they are, really pertinent, poignant, and political. Moves us on to another song from In the City, Away from the Numbers. And once again, I notice how tight this band is. And that's the similar thing to a lot of bands that came out of the new wave post-punk movement and made a sort of successful run at a career. They were such tight bands with good musicians. I'm thinking about Elvis Costello and the Attractions. I'm thinking about the Pretenders, Joe Jackson. I really adore the chiming, slightly dirty guitar sound that Paul Weller's getting out of that Rickenbacker 330. And, you know, beautiful. Rickenbacker 330. Gotta love it. All Around the World is a single, and it's the first of 3 songs in a row with the word world in the title. Call and response, vocals in the verse. Really cool idea. I mean, so many of these songs I think would work brilliantly in a live setting because they're inviting the audience to sing along with the chorus. Is this punk with a serious melody or just a great pop song? Love the backing vocals, and how good's that messy guitar solo. And messy, I mean like a dirty, funky, messy guitar solo at the end with all that feedback. The Modern World from This Is the Modern World didn't really do it for me. But remember, this is just my first playthrough, so I've got to get back to it. Let's go on to the News of the World, which is a single written and sung by Bruce Foxton. Those freaky echoing vocals at the start really have my attention. There's a fantastic groove, and the guitar riff even offers this surf vibe. The drummer's working overtime, and the bass player's locking it all down. One of the things I noticed really about these early songs is the bass playing of Bruce Foxton's a bit further in the mix, and Rick's drumming and Paul's guitar are right up, but that all changes. I love that trebly rhythm guitar, that scratchy rhythm guitar motif, which is counterpointed by the grunginess of the solo. Billy Hunt's up next, and this is from all mod cons. And even the songs I'm not commenting on too much would work brilliantly in a live setting. And you can feel the sweat and the energy and the intensity that this band would bring into front of an audience. I love the chanting sing-along of Billy Hunt, Billy Hunt, Billy, Billy, Billy. And what's not to love about that guitar solo, again with that sublime feedback, it's just perfectly controlled. It's something he really does well, and he does often, Paul Weller. He just builds the guitar. He doesn't overshoot it when he's playing his solos, but he's got enough chops to make them interesting. And then he often finishes with feedback or like a scratching of the pick down the string, like that. Really cool. English Rose is also from all mod cons, and it's the opening of the ship's foghorn out at harbour, a misty night, and then beautiful acoustic guitar. A radical change of pace for this beautiful ballad. It's a song of wistful yearning. And then the sound effects change to sort of like the icy tundras of the Antarctic. And I'll put up with it on this occasion, an excusable key change. This is a sublime song, a beautiful song. And I tell you what, I was not expecting it, even though, as I said, I really dig Paul Weller's solo stuff. I wasn't expecting it on the jam so early along in the picture. And then we go into Mr. Clean, again from all mod cons, and there's a big shift in terms of sound and production here. I really think everything's just gone up a gear, and I don't know if this is, how many all mod con songs have we had? So we've had a few, but this one really just jumps out. Maybe you can tell me in the comments if you see that as well and why it might have happened. The bass is far more prominent in the mix, and what a beautiful tone Bruce Foxton has. It's a little bit more ambitious musically, taking us into unexpected territories. And I'm liking where this compilation and where the band is going. They're developing really nicely here, enjoying it a lot. I'm happily surprised. Then we go into the Kinks cover of David Watts with that clockwork rhythm to start. And we've got a vibe of a 60s power pop classic. Well, why wouldn't we? It's a Kinks song. Yes, everything on this album, all mod cons, is elevated. The arrangement, the production, the playing, the mix. Weller and Bruce Foxton trading verses, killer song. And I love the ending section, which is amazing, of the wish I could be like, wish I could be like, wish I could be. So great. Then we go into A Bomb in Wardour Street, also from all mod cons. And we've got a cowbell alert. Always got to watch out for a cowbell alert. I like the jaunty rhythm of this, the bass playing and the guitar feedback, but I'm going to move straight on to the next song, which is also from all mod cons. And it's the lyrics about a guy who's being attacked on the tube station by right-wing thugs. and it's called Down in the Tube Station at Midnight. And I've spent quite a bit of time in London, and the opening sound effects really take me back to being on the tube. And the sound effects here apparently from St John's Wood, or is it St John's Wood? The rhythm section is absolutely on fire in this song, the bass and the drums. And what a bass riff. My God, it just propels everything. It allows freedom and space for the other two to do their bit as well. Absolutely cool. The next song also is a cool song. It's called Strange Town, which was a single. Not a standout for me, but I think the outro is superb. And then we get the B-side of Strange Town, which is Butterfly Collector, which is a longing, beautiful, balladesque start, followed by a great chorus, which chucks us straight back into the 60s. There's a stunning coolness here, and those echoed vocals in the last verse are so welcome. Just a touch, a slice of dreamy psychness to finish. Apparently this was written about the NME music journalist Julie Burchill. Then we move on to another single, which is When You're Young, another great live song. A touch of tasty lead guitar feedback also reigns supreme. The slow section of the call and response of the guitar and the bass is really cool, as are the arpeggiated guitar notes that follow in the solo. And the B-side of that is Smithers Jones, written by Bruce Foxton, and this is on Setting Suns. Great feel to the verse here, especially with a syncopated rhythm guitar. Beautiful production and mix. Chorus goes where I expected, I suppose. And I got a real sense of XTC vibes here. I can almost hear Colin singing. And one of the interesting things I noted just doing a little bit of sort of research here was that this single, was released on exactly the same day as Drums and Wires by XTC. I mean, how amazing is that? So, when I talked about Joe Jackson at the start and XTC here, I mean, I'm sure there was some cross-fertilization or cross-pollination between the bands, and that you can hear a bit of other bands in the jam. And I can't wait to listen to other bands like XTC and see what jam influences I can hear in their music. But first, of course, I'm going to listen again to Snap by the Jam. Great outro with those volume swells on the guitar. They sound great. And then Thick as Thieves finishes the first album, which is another great song for live, for dancing and singing along. Very clean recorded, and the band is tight as always. And those backing vocals, which I think are really stunning, and something about the Jam I never would have thought. I would have just initially thought that these were all songs dominated by Paul Weller. Well, they're not. This is a great band, great backing vocals, and some great songs by Bruce Foxton as well. So I'm going to get a drink of water, and then we're going to flip it over and get my reaction to side two. How about that? The second record opens with Eton Rifles, which is a critique, I think, of the cadet program, the military cadet program at Eton at the time. We've got ominous rumblings of the power bass here. This song's from Setting Suns, by the way. And it reminds me quite a bit of The Clash to start off with. What a song. I love the lightness of the vocal delivery, and it's got clever harmonies in the verse, then a killer chorus. And now, is that an organ in the solo? It's a nice addition. I hadn't noticed any organ on the songs up to this point. Such a powerful ending with the chanting of Eton Rifles, manic slabs of guitar, and this is probably my favorite up to this point. And then we have Going Underground, which was part of a double A single. And interestingly enough, the song that's to come next, Dreams of Children, is the other part of the A single, and that was supposed to be the A single, and Going Underground was supposed to be the B side. Anyway, I seem to recall knowing Going Underground back in the day. Cool song. Again, it's a great live stomper, and the cut to the quiet in the middle is sublime, though. But then we've got an unauthorized key change. Better move ahead quickly to The Dreams of Children. And the production and the mix doesn't sound quite as realized as the previous songs as we're taking them chronologically. Again, I love the cutbacks to the quiet section and the way the cool reverse guitar in the outro almost has a nightmarish quality, along with the organ as well. And then we move on to That's Entertainment. Well, here's a song I absolutely did know. And spoiler alert, warning alert, blink and you miss it. But there's a little message about That's Entertainment down here. And if I can read it to you. That's Entertainment. On this LP, although technically not as good as the later version recorded for sound effects, the demo has a certain quality that was never captured again. I missed a bit there. So they've got the demo of That's Entertainment on here. And do you know what? I prefer it. Oh, yeah. Is that okay? Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. I prefer it. I mean, I think I've always thought there's something about it coming out of the gates really hard at you and just constantly going with those acoustic guitars. But this, I think, actually, I dig it more. It does capture a quality and takes away that sort of wall of soundy effect of the original. And I love how the backing vocals really have time to breathe on this version. So I'm really happy with that. I think if you were buying this double compilation and thinking, oh, well, it's got That's Entertainment, you'd be disappointed if you really wanted that song, that original version. But this works for me. Then Start comes up. And okay, cool. It's from Sound Effects. It does have those Taxman vibes, but all art is theft, as Picasso would say in the past. And the song veers so quickly away from that revolver idea. I love the breakdown to "And If I Never Ever See You Again" section. It's sublime. It's an absolute banger. And maybe I was a little bit too tough on this back in the day to dismiss it as a mere sort of Taxman wannabe. It's so much more than that. Funeral Pyre is up next, and this was a single written by the band, and it was remixed for this comp. It's a power opening with those military style, train style drums. Once again, the bass and the drums are absolutely formidable. And the song comes out of the gates absolutely fanging and then stays there. The middle short instrumental section that rises in pitch and intensity is twisted. And I love the ringing guitar arpeggios throughout. Was Paul Weller always playing a Rickenbacker? Because that's the way it sounds like to me. The drumming here reminds me of XTC's song Living Through Another Cuba, which was released before this song in 1980. So maybe there was that cross-cultural fertilization going on. Cool song. One side of the compilation to go. We're up to side D, and we're going to begin with the single Absolute Beginners, and it's got a horn section in it, and I was not expecting that. They're stretching their funk chops here a little bit. Is this shades of the Style Council appearing? I don't know. It's a bit unmemorable for me. But then we go to From the Riverbank, which was the flip side or the B side to Absolute Beginners, and there's a real power pop new wave vibe here. Probably the most new wavy vibe on the album that I've heard, especially in the verse. And the melody of the chorus is wonderful. I adore the sweeping, panning guitars and the almost sitar-like arpeggios and feedback that underpin the verses. It's quite freaky. And check out the instrumental outro for a sweet psych breakdown. This is an absolute favorite of mine on this album. Moving on to their last album now with A Town Called Malice, the last album being The Gift. Okay, I knew this one. It's all good. It's a pretty fantastic song, but I'd love to hear it without those keyboards. That organ, if it is, just it annoys me all the way through. It's a tad cloying. Still, it's a good song. I don't enjoy it as much as the others that I've picked up so far because there's no sense of discovery. But still, we move on. And we move on to Precious, also from The Gift. And here cometh the funk and the wah guitar and the horn section. Or is it keyboards? I'm not too sure. What a different band, but they can cook. The vocals are fairly low in the mix. It reminds me a lot of Internationalists by the Style Council, and that ain't a bad thing. I love how this song gives the band time to really stretch out and cook up a funky stew. Pretty cool. Next up is a single, The Bitterest Pill I Ever Had to Swallow. And we've got a string section now and female backing singer. Do we have a band that's running out of ideas? This song is take or leave it, despite some of the really good lyrics. And I'm probably leaving at this point. It goes on way too long, but that's just my opinion. I'm sure that this is an amazing song to so many people. Remember, it's my first time listening to it and my first reaction. And then we go on to a single at the end, which is Beat Surrender. And there's a piano throughout, and the piano is riffing throughout the song. Definitely not the same band that I started listening to. We've got to this point. This is a different form of the jam, and that's okay. Bands need to evolve. They need to stretch themselves. And I seem to remember this song vaguely because of the come over, slip over to the Beat Surrender, which maybe I have heard this one in the past. So take it or leave it. At this point, I'm going to leave it and say I'm out. And I can really understand why the band shut up shop at this point, particularly considering the last few songs that I've just listened to, although I have not listened to the albums, of course. that's something that I've got to get into. But I can really understand why Paul Weller shut up shop. But I can also understand how the other two really resented that decision and wanted the band to continue. Anyway, I'm no expert, and I'm sure you guys have got awesome opinions that you can throw down in the comments. And I'd really like to get your suggestions as to where I should go next and what songs. My gut feeling is I want to go and have a good listen to all mod cons and then maybe Setting Suns and see how I go from there. But anyway, I am so thrilled to have discovered a band that, and a great band that I really should have discovered a long time ago. And that is the absolute beauty of shopping for records and vinyl digging, isn't it? Going into that shop, pulling out an album and going, my God, I was never expecting to see that today. And I was never expecting to have such a huge hole in my musical knowledge. And now it has started to be filled. And as I say, any thoughts that you can pass on to me in the comments, that would be really cool as well. And I've had so much pleasure just giving this the first listen. I went straight through and really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to listen to it again. And remember, of course, that if music of any size, shape, sound, or style counsel gives you pleasure, then who am I to argue with your opinion? If you've enjoyed coming on this ride with me, please give me a like and maybe even think about subscribing as well, because you know you want to. Anyway, I'm Brian. That's it for this video. Until next time, I hope you're doing really well. Keep cool and bye now.